For as long as fiction has existed, there's been one genre that routinely dominates them all, and that's romance. From the classic tale of Romeo and Juliet, to the adaptation of fairy tales, to the manufactured reality of Hollywood films. Everyone loves love. It's not surprising. Love is a powerful emotion. It can be considered a building block of life itself. If you stuck with fairy tale adaptations and Hollywood films, love would start to be synonymous with happiness. But is that the reality? Looking back at it, Romeo and Juliet is perhaps the most famous love story of all time. It's provided the building blocks for many love stories today, and yet it ends in tragedy. Love doesn't always end in a happily ever after. In fact, the opposite might even be more relatable. People find comfort in that sweet ending, popularized so much by old Hollywood musicals. Ironically, it's musicals that have been able to provide us with such bittersweet romances.
I just heard you play, and I wanted to...
La La Land tells a story that seems rather stereotypical on paper. An aspiring musician meets an aspiring actress. After a rocky start, they begin to fall in love. How original. But as you progress through the film, you start to realize it focuses less on the success of the romance and more on its inevitable failure. Our story begins with our two protagonists at a low point in their careers. Mia struggles to find work as an actress, while Sebastian picks up menial jobs in order to get by. They have dreams of grandeur, but are unsuccessful due to an inability to conform to what's expected of them. They're initially hostile, but their similarities draw them close to one another. The development of their romance is presented in such a beautifully dreamlike way. They don't just understand one another, they push each other to be better.
So you could just write your own roles, you know, write something that's as interesting as you are, and you don't have to audition for this.
Yeah.
Pishy caca.
They share in each other's passions.
What are you gonna do?
I'm gonna have my own club.
Really?
Yes. We're gonna play whatever we want, whenever we want, however we want, as long as it's pure jazz.
When Sebastian sings City of Stars, it emphasizes how meaningful she's quickly become to him. Sebastian is a man who's been at the mercy of bad luck and unappreciation. He had plans to open a jazz club, but it slowly becomes an impossibility, even if he doesn't want to believe it. So it's no wonder he views their encounter through somber optimism. Their encounter is equally as important to Mia. Despite another failure at her audition, it's her date with Sebastian that makes her happy again. It's what causes her to ditch her boyfriend, a man so detached from her own artistic world. They find a form of escapism within their relationship. These two are a match made in heaven. They simply complete each other. Reflective of how many relationships start, the first half concludes in such an extravagantly optimistic way. It's cute, it's heartwarming, it's exciting. And then the second half starts. Their fantastical relationship soon comes crashing down to reality. They're still just aspiring artists with near unobtainable dreams, and dreams don't pay the bills. Each other's encouragement allows them to find a path towards their goal. Mia takes the risk of writing her own one-woman play, and Sebastian takes part in a jazz band he dislikes in order to save money. While the pursuit of their dreams brought them together, it also begins to break them apart. They start seeing each other less, they begin to feel unappreciated, and ultimately, they aren't there for each other when they need them the most. It's clear that their dreams are in conflict with one another. Following the failure of her show, Mia quits acting for good. It prompts Sebastian to encourage her one last time to audition for a role she's been called for. It's after her audition where the two realize what they have to do. In order to achieve their goals, they have to let each other walk their own path. Eventually, Mia does become the actress she hoped to be, and Sebastian is able to open his jazz club. Despite a lapse in time, it seems their relationship still has an influence in what they do. A lesser film might have tried to make things work out between them. It may be what the audience wants, and the characters themselves. A chance encounter has Mia visit Seb's club with her husband, and it's here where we see the final dream sequence. A what-if fantasy where they were able to be together. It's the Hollywood ending everyone wants, and a scene that's quickly become one of my favorites. But again, we are brought back to reality. They had to sacrifice their relationship in order to get to where they were. Although I'm not sure sacrifice is the right word, they simply went through the motions of life. People will enter and leave your life all the time, and the best people are the ones who change you for the better. The people who push you towards your goal, but can't join you at its end. And that's fine. Don't be sad that they're gone. Be glad that they were there in the first place. It's the bittersweet conclusion that Sebastian and Mia reach, and they're happier for it. But what if they didn't want to let go? What if they couldn't envision being with someone else? What if life never gave them the chance to be together? Out of all of Satoshi Kon's films, love is explored most intimately in Millennium Actress. On its surface, it's about the love story between a budding actress and an unknown painter. Digging deeper, it's about our love for peace in a world filled with war. It's Kon's personal love letter to the resilience of Japan and Japanese cinema, and it's all personified within the story of Chiyoko Fujiwara. Our story begins with filmmaker Genya Tachibana making a documentary on the history of now-defunct Ginei Studios. Specifically, he wants to interview retired actress Chiyoko Fujiwara, who withdrew from the public eye 30 years ago. Genya begins by giving her a key, one she lost many years ago. It prompts her to tell them its origin. A film agency attempts to recruit a young Chiyoko as an actress, but her mother refuses. Angered by this, she storms off only to bump into a wounded painter. Almost immediately, she's drawn to him. Realizing he's escaping authorities, she gives him a place to hide. It's here where the man speaks about his hopes and dreams, and promises to meet each other once the war ends. He tries to leave, but she makes him promise to stay at least till tomorrow. And that's when she finds his key, and realizes authorities have already begun their search. The store clerk informs her that he's escaped to the train station and runs to go find him. But she's too late. That very same chase scene was also part of her first film. This commences Kon's blending of reality and fiction. Chiyoko ends up pursuing an acting career not out of her own interest but in hopes of finding the painter. It's during her acting career where she meets Gunichi Otaki, the director's son. From here, her life is defined by her pursuit of the painter. It even seeps into her films, all of them centering around the pursuit of love. Her memories of her real life and her film life blend together. One of her notable film roles sees her being cursed with eternal love. However fantastical her films may be, we eventually crash down to reality following the use of the atomic bombs. The destruction leaves her shocked and speechless. As her hope for peace depletes, she's reminded why she hopes for peace in the first place. So one thing that's been left in the air is why Chiyoko falls for the painter. Well, we later learn in the film that he was an anti-war, anti-government rebel. Despite his advocacy of peace, he was still attacked and wounded by Japanese authorities. Even during his lowest point, he shows an angry Chiyoko compassion, something she's sorely missing in the politically authoritative world she's grown up in. He's not just a nice man, he's an ideal of peace, hope, and love. Essentially, Chiyoko is in love with love, just like everyone else. In a desolate, war-torn world, it's the reminder of love that gives us the energy to persevere. It gives us life. But sometimes it's not enough. I'd be lying if I said there weren't times where things seem too bleak, where we lose our hope in the future, the world, and in love, just like Chiyoko. Following the war, Chiyoko would dedicate her life to acting, still hopeful that one day she'd find the painter. Her hope is what causes her to reject the advances of Gunichi Otaki. Her character is further tested when her mother pushes her to find a husband. She's not getting any younger, and she doesn't even know if he's alive. The last straw comes when she loses the key she held onto for so long, her reminder now gone. Her pursuit of love effectively ends there, and she ends up marrying Otaki, who she later finds out hid the key from her in the first place. Before she can argue over it, an unknown man comes to visit her. It's the scarred officer seeking forgiveness for his crimes against the peaceful rebels. He reveals that one man, a painter, left her a letter, one that states he will return to Hokkaido once the war is over. Her hope restored, she journeys all the way there to meet him, all in a beautiful 9-minute scene that blends her reality and her fantasy together, all in the pursuit of love. A futile pursuit. The man reveals to a young Genya that he was the one who tortured and killed the painter. So of course Chiyoko never finds him. In her final film role, an earthquake destroys the studio, and it's after this near-death experience that she realizes so much time has passed. So much has changed. Would the painter even recognize her? Fearing the answer, she runs out of the studio, leaving her key behind. Genya finds it, and sets the whole film in motion. Following this memory, Chiyoko becomes gravely ill, and is rushed to the hospital. It's during her final moments, key in hand, that she realizes love was never a curse, but a blessing. It's what gave her life purpose, and what helped her persevere through the harshest time in Japan. The pursuit of love changed her life completely, and so she accepts her fate, as just another chance to find her painter. There's an old saying that goes, "It's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all." It's an interesting idea. How would someone feel if they simply could not love? In 2011, Steve McQueen presented us with a very unique story. Shame centers around a man named Brandon and his struggles with porn addiction. It's a topic that might seem rather silly to some, but you don't have to look far to find out that even the strongest people can suffer from it. We're introduced to Brandon through cold gray colors. We see him spend his days looking at women with lust but never love, and overindulging in sex. All the while, ignoring calls from his sister Sissy. His addiction doesn't just affect his family relationship, but also his work, as we see him masturbate in the bathroom, and later the company finds porn on his computer.
Your hard drive is filthy, right? We got your computer back. I mean, it is dirty.
It seeps into every facet of his life. He's not the only person consumed by lust. During a night of drinks, his boss tries to pick up some women, despite being a married man. He never seems to be successful, while Brandon is. He arrives back home to find his sister using his shower.
Brandon, don't you fucking knock!
What the fuck? Why would I knock? I live here.
Oh, fuck.
How'd you get in?
Oh, you gave me fucking keys!
The song playing in the background is I Want Your Love by Chic, and it's exactly what Sissy wants. The love and comfort of her brother. You see, in contrast to Brandon's successful career, Sissy is a failed musician. She's moved all the way from LA to her brother's New York apartment because she has nowhere else to go. We also learn she's going through a bad breakup, further cementing her pursuit of love. Despite his annoyance, it's clear he really cares about her. She is his sister, and seeing her at her lowest point, he feels compelled to help, even show her the compassion she needs. If nothing else, he still feels the bonds of family love. Sissy entering his life again has opened up a vulnerable side to him. There's no better example of this than when he goes to see her perform. During her rendition of New York, New York, Brandon does something uncharacteristic. He sheds a tear, captivated by his sister's talent. Although he never lets her, or anyone, see him like this, he continues putting on the facade of a stoic man. Unfortunately, his boss has tagged along on their little meeting, and starts hitting on Sissy. In her emotionally vulnerable state, she falls for the first man to give her attention. Arriving home, they both enter Brandon's room. It's here where he's forced to look into a disturbing mirror. Him and his boss are one and the same, and he hates it. This prompts him to get out of the apartment and go for a jog. Effectively, he's trying to run away from his problems, his addiction, even love. It's in this moment where his admiration for Sissy ends. He truly believed that she had changed, that she was trying to do better, and he started to warm up to this idea of her. But she's still the same person, making the same mistakes, falling for the first person to give her attention. And he's angry that he fell for it. As mentioned before, the company finds porn on his work computer, but he's able to avoid repercussion because they don't believe it was him. The facade he puts on, that of a regular successful man, works. However, he knows his addiction is catching up to him, and that his mask will soon fall off. Gazing up at a couple having sex by their window, he knows that his true desire is to indulge in his addiction without a care in the world. But still, he tries his hand at love once more. He goes on a date with a woman named Marianne from work. It's within their conversations that we learn a little more about Brandon's beliefs. For one, he doesn't believe in commitment.
What? You just seem like
what?
averse to the whole idea.
Well, yeah, I mean, I just don't understand why people would want to get married, especially nowadays. I mean, it's, you know, I don't see the point.
And he wishes he could be someone else.
How would you be?
Well, I always wanted to be a musician in the 60s.
It's cool. Musician.
Yeah.
Whether he's aware of it or not, we see that Brandon is unsatisfied with himself. It doesn't take a genius to realize that addiction might be the root cause of his commitment issues. There might not be anybody who can satisfy him intimately anymore. And so he avoids love and remains single. Even after a successful date, he returns to masturbating and is caught by Sissy. It causes them to fight, and then she leaves. This prompts him to throw away all his porn, hoping to become a changed man, but it might be too late. He takes Marianne to a hotel, hoping to get intimate with her, but he just can't. If you didn't know, erectile dysfunction is a real symptom of porn addiction, and it hasn't shown up for him until he was with someone he really loved. It's only later when he calls a prostitute that he's able to have sex, now choosing lust over love. Faced with his own lowest point, he tries to get Sissy to leave his life for good. Angered, he storms off to indulge in the only thing he finds comfort in. He pursues it from a stranger's girlfriend, a gay sex club, and a brothel he already frequents, all the while ignoring Sissy's calls. It's during all this that she gives the most revelatory information.
We're not bad people. We just come from a bad place.
We're never told what happened to them, but we can plainly see the effects. It's caused both of them to seek comfort in all the wrong places. These are two severely lonely individuals trying to find love in this world, but they couldn't even find it in each other as brother and sister. It's ultimately what drives Sissy to attempt suicide. By this point, Brandon knows his addiction is ruining his career, his love life, and now the only family he has. And we see him overcome with guilt. But in the final scene of the film, we see him stare at a married woman, once again with lust, and she reciprocates it back. The final shot lingers on his face. Can he truly move on, Or will his life always be void of love? As we can see, love is a very strange thing. Love can change you, or it can consume you. You can spend your life chasing it, or spend your life avoiding it. It's a unique emotion, a unique story for everyone. It doesn't always have a happy fairy tale ending, and that's what makes it so fascinating. Love can be heartwarming, and it can be heartbreaking, and I think it's from that we can see the tragic beauty of love. Hey everybody, Zelcher here, and happy Valentine's Day. Or at least I hope it's Valentine's Day when you get this. Who knows if copyright claims will fuck me over. Let's hope not. Hope you enjoyed this video. It's kind of a new format I'm trying to do. Needs some refinement, but I hope to do some more compilation analysis in the future. The best thing about this video, I think, is that I got to talk about 3 of my all-time favorite films. So that was fun to do. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. Shout out to my patrons, as always, a big shout out to Lil Shy Fry. And yeah, have a happy Valentine's Day.